family, what's going on? So we're talking about rules of engagement when it comes to communication.
Yes.
Something that myself and my wife believe is so important that we have got to make sure that we get right. As a married couple, if we don't get communication right, let me tell you, all else can sometimes be lost.
Of course.
So there's a few things that we want to just really discuss. Myself and Jamie want to discuss about communication that we believe are going to be some tips and some things that are really going to help to push your relationship to another level.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we've been married for quite some time, but sometimes we got to revisit these moments. So one of the things that I've discovered while being married for quite some time is that with my wife in particular, I have got to find when I'm getting ready to communicate with her, I can't just communicate with her any time of the day.
That's true.
I have to find the right time, the right place, the right setting, the right mode in order to kind of really make sure she's at the right.
I wouldn't
what would
say
you
setting. First thing in the morning, as soon as he wakes up, he just wants to talk. I'm not a talking person. Like, I just want to wake up, hear the birds, look at the sun outside. Really just, that moment that you see in the television, you just wake up and it just feels peaceful. As soon as my husband opens his eyes, that's all I hear is you talking, and it's too much for me.
I'm a talker.
Yeah, you talk. But then at the same time, at nighttime, when I'm ready, because I'm a night person
She wants to talk.
as well,
I don't really
want to talk. He doesn't want to talk.
No,
so it's interesting.
So it's almost finding that right time. And I think, especially when we first got married, that used to be a huge thing. And I kind of learned over time that I've got to get that right time. And I think it's important the reason why I say setting is I'm more coming from the perspective that I know you're not a morning talker.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? She doesn't like the morning. I'm not too keen on the evening, so we kind of have to find like a midday type lunch thing going on. In the middle.
True.
Sometimes we got to get up and say, let's go out.
Yeah, that works really
because
well.
Because I found out that some of my conversations, especially major conversations, don't necessarily take place in the house. Sometimes I say, look here, let's go down to the beach. Thank God living in Florida, we have the opportunity to go down to the beach.
Yeah.
And, we instantly go down to the beach, sit down, have a conversation. And I find it to be really, really productive. And because when we have a conversation in the right time, we get the right results.
Yeah.
But if it's the wrong time, what happens at the wrong time?
Wrong results. It just doesn't go down very well, does it? I mean, the main thing about communication, I think, is knowing how your spouse likes to be spoken to, right? Everybody likes to be spoken in a particular way.
Right.
And it's about getting to know your spouse so that there's a right way and a wrong way. If you want to get a good result, then you have to figure out what that right way is. I have figured out the right way to speak to my husband. Like, if I want him to do something.
Please tell me.
No, actually, I'm not going to say no
so
more
you
because
keep
I'm not going to give
it's
away
a
my
secret?
secret. No.
No.
I'm not
It's
going
like
to give
some
away my
secret sauce?
tactics. No, I'm not going to give away my tactics.
For our viewers, I think they need to hear.
Well, no, I just know that I have to, nagging him, especially to do something, nagging him.
It doesn't work. It
doesn't work. And going over and speaking about something over and over definitely doesn't work. So now I mean, the reason why I used to go over things several times, because I used to think he's forgotten. Because I'm like, you haven't done what I asked you to do, so maybe you've forgotten, and I need to ask you again.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think that is a wife thing that they believe many men forget? So maybe they got to start nagging. I don't know. You tell me, because
I think it's terms of prioritization.
Okay.
I mean, to us, especially when we want something done, to us, in our mind, it's a priority. To you, in the grand scheme of things, it's probably not a priority.
Right.
So it's almost like, and especially the way you respond also has an impact as well on why probably I would want to repeat it again. Because if you don't take it as though you're interested, or you've kind of dismissed it like, yeah, it feels like you've dismissed my point. So it would be nice as well if it's something that's, that means something to me, which you do that now, just make a bit more of a, acknowledge it a bit more, because then once it's acknowledged,
Yeah.
You know, I think I'm okay. He's listening. He's taken on
Fair
board.
enough.
But then at the same time, it's about understanding. Okay, that maybe you may forget because you know we both together sometimes we don't have great memories
Well,
between us.
my thing is that sometimes I know definitely in the past when you used to kind of say something about 5 times, 6, 7 times.
Yeah.
I hear you actually from the first time, and what happens, and I don't know if this is a man thing or anything to that degree, but it's definitely my thing. I'm a reflector.
Yeah.
I process things,
Yeah.
and because I process it, I've got to make sure when I hear it, I got to go over it several times. And you know, I think that's from me, from that perspective, I think it's so important to be able to understand that, you know what I mean, when I am engaging with you, and finding the right time and the next thing I start to kind of I've learned over time, is not only the right time,
Yeah.
but the right tone.
Okay.
The
I
right
love
tone,
that.
right
That's very
tone, right
true.
tone.
That's very
Because
true. I love that.
me myself and I got a deep voice. So oh girl, come on, you want me to put it on for you?
Whatever.
But anyway,
You're a mess.
but one thing I realize, it could be good for me sometimes, but
Yeah,
then when
but-
we're in some passionate moments, I think you think I'm coming off in a more
No, I feel like you're telling me off
yeah,
as though
and
I'm
I'm
your
not.
child,
And
and,
I'm not.
I feel as though
I think it's
I'm
just
like,
like
does
an
this guy not
authoritative-
realize I'm grown? I'm an adult, and he's talking to me as though I'm Jeremiah. Well, that's how you used to speak, and it was
Yeah.
this very authoritative voice. I don't know if it was like, I don't know if you were like that because your dad was like that, because your dad's got
My
this
dad is
very,
like that.
Listen, when his dad talks, it echoes through the house, especially when he was in his prime.
Right.
You know, he's a very tall, strong man. So I don't know if it's because dad was like that. Because
Well, I think because I mean, my dad was the only one the only example I had.
Yeah.
And you know, part of the journey of us being almost 19 years of marriage, I've learned some habits from him in the beginning stages that I didn't think that was necessarily the greatest. I've also began to reflect, and I began to learn a few things of what not to do. And I realized, you know, the best way for me to speak to you is to speak to you in as much as of a calm, compassionate type way to you, to make sure that, because I want to make sure you receive it. The thing I've realized, and what I would say in our marriage, is I could have what I would call the right time, the right tone,
Right.
but sometimes it could still feel like it's cold. And you know, I think it's important that for me, you know,
you have to
then,
help me understand.
all right, let
What do you
me
mean
help.
cold?
Let me let you.
Help me
When I mean cold,
understand.
I'm talking about a cold environment, not warm.
Oh, okay.
Environment. You know what I mean? Because you know, as a husband, I'm always trying to make sure things are better, things are right. And you know, I believe as a beautiful, amazing woman and wife and mother of a home, you help to set the atmosphere.
Okay.
And so, I mean, one of the rules of engagement that I've learned along the way is, you know what I mean, to make sure we avoid, you know, like cold shoulders. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And make sure, me as a husband, that if there's an apology that's given, or if, you know what I mean, things are trying to be put right, to not just act cold, not just go 1 week without talking, not go, you know, a day without, I don't even like go to bed.
Yeah.
And we have not had a discussion
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
a situation or a
Yeah.
circumstance. So, you know what I mean, why do you believe that we are, you know, especially, you know, not necessarily just us, but just couples can sometimes be in a place and position where they're okay with, you know, giving that cold shoulder, and, you know what I mean, going a week without talking, going 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. I don't get it.
Okay, so here's my evaluation or my thoughts behind why I think that is. I think what people don't realize, we hear so much about women creating the environment in the home, right? I agree with that full-heartedly. Like, because I remember as a child growing up, I would always know when my mum was home because I could smell the food, and you know what England's like. England's cold. As soon as I stepped through the door, oh yeah, she can cook.
She can cook.
Oh
She
my
can
lord,
cook. Yeah,
she
yeah,
can
yeah.
cook. But you could smell the food, and you wouldn't always smell the food as soon as you got into the house. You could smell it from walking down the road. I knew my mum was cooking, but then also also, I would also feel she was in the home because as soon as I walked in, the house was so warm and it smelled nice. Right. You know, when they start burning their little potpourri, pot puree thingy majiggies, like you just knew, I just always knew that she was home. So I recognized that women do set the atmosphere. But I also understand from the person that you are, because you're a very strong character, men set the tone. So men set the tone of the home, right? But the women set the atmosphere based on the tone. So I always think that when it came to that,
say that again. That was kind of deep. Do you remember?
Men set the tone, and women set the environment of the home. So you were very good at like setting the tone as to what we wanted, the
from a
culture,
standards point of view,
culture. From the start, and what culture we wanted to create in our home. Like, for example, you didn't like the fact when, you know, I used to like turning on the television first thing in the morning because I want to hear the news. You know, I don't watch programs. I used to turn it on, watch the news. He was like, Jay, no, I don't want the television on in the morning. I was like, what is wrong with this man? But he says, you know, I want to set the tone. I want to set the atmosphere in the mornings. And we just grow used to that. Right. So especially coming back to your question when it comes to understanding, like, okay, not going to bed, like you kind of almost forced that out of me, because if I'm honest with you, if you wasn't like that, I probably would have gone to sleep a few times, you know, not talking to you, and I would have been okay with that, to be very fair.
A few times?
Say a few.
All
a few times where I would have been okay not speaking to you because you were just too much. And especially when your emotions are a bit high, and emotions, especially in the situation, is high, it makes you want to shut down. Like I shut down. I wanted to sleep it off and deal with it later on. But Ryan really pulled me into that understanding. Look, Jay, let's be biblical with everything that we do. Let's be biblical. Don't let the sun go down on your wrath, and don't let the sun go down on an argument. So if we're arguing, let's deal with it, let's resolve it, or let's tie it up to a place of peace and deal with the rest tomorrow, because it's not every situation you can deal with in that day. Do you remember that time we had that heated discussion, that passionate discussion, and it went on for about 2 days? And we didn't sleep because he said he didn't want to sleep and let the sun go down on our rafts. So we didn't sleep. We were literally
we're gonna talk
arguing.
We're gonna talk about
for 2 days.
We're gonna talk about this, because I'm like, you know, I'm the type of person where I'm like, you know what, we're in this together. We're partners. We're married. We're gonna do this. We're gonna make sure things are in place. And don't get me wrong, I'm now at a mature place as being, you know, older and being married, where if there is a certain situation that we can't fully resolve, we at least start the conversation, and then we will go ahead and say we will continue it the following day. But we're not going to go to bed upset or mad, which, you know what I mean, which kind of brings me to the next thing, you know what I mean, of a rules of engagement. I think we need to have the be in a place where we listen and give one another full attention.
Right.
Now, we're in this, what I would call, social media generation. And nowadays, conversations are conversations with the phone in the hand. You know what I mean? And it really doesn't give the individual full attention. And so when it comes to engagement of communication, I truly believe we need to give each other, you know, our full attention in what we're doing. And I would encourage any couple, like, give the person who you're with. You decide. I'm talking about when you got married, you stood at an altar and you said, I do. And you spent about a good hour just, you know, with the priest and everything and the congregation. And there was full attention to recite vows. And so, you know what I mean? I've made a decision myself that anything when it comes to you, that I'm going to give you full attention. I'm going to make sure put down everything else. And I think you can tell if I'm not giving you full attention, you know what I mean, and things, you know what I mean.
And I can tell when you've been dismissed as well.
You can tell all of that. You can tell we've been together long enough. So I can say
something, if you don't want to talk about it, you'll completely dismiss it and take.
How do I do it? Tell me. How do I do it? How do I do that? Come on. Character role. Come on. Go on.
I mean, how many examples do you want to see? I mean, you do it, you know, when you don't want to talk about something.
Right.
You do dismiss and you will talk about something else.
Well, let me tell you how you do it.
Okay.
Because when you
I don't want to talk about it no more, right?
Yeah,
That's what I'll say.
I don't want to talk about it anymore. You're like, I don't want to deal with this, and you're like, all right, I'm going to my room, or I got to go to work now.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
No, but that's because, guys, listen, it'll be really great to hear your opinions on this. Like, how do you all deal with situations? Because sometimes there has to be a cutoff, and I don't know if your spouse does it, but does it always seem sometimes that your spouse brings up conversations at the wrong time? So when I'm going to work,
this is good because this is good. You know why? This is so good because, and sometimes when it comes to conflict, and we're going to do something in regards to conflict, I think it's going to be good. You know what I mean? I put your comments already in the chat. You know what I mean? So we can really just have some conversations about this, because what I realize when it comes to conflict, sometimes it never seems to be the right time.
It's about being practical at the same time that it's about understanding that some conversations have to wait.
And that I've learned over time and with maturity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's
about knowing how to do it and when to do it. Actually, I wait until, okay, you've come from work, you slept, you know what I mean? You're in a right position and place. And then I have a conversation. I'm continuously learning.
Yeah.
And it's a continuous journey.
Definitely.
About it, because, and I think, you know, as we get ready to go, I think this is important, that being married for a long time doesn't mean you know everything.
No.
But being married for a long time means that we have learned how to cope with situations, mature in situations, and bring it to a place that we can absolutely live in harmony. Family, look here. Put your comments in there. What's your methods of rules of engagement for you and your spouse? We can't wait to hear, and we look forward to speaking to you soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.